Oh, that's cool. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Okay, nope, we definitely got it now, boys. Ah. I'm not trying to, there it goes. Oh. Oh, well, things just got a whole lot worse. This was supposed to be a couple-week break. Now it's turned into nothing but a disaster. Dude, I quit. So like we left off in last video on the G35, we are left with a bad rear main seal that we now have to replace. So as you can tell, went ahead and grabbed one of the support braces or support bars, however you want to say it, from Harbor Freight to get this thing braced up with the chain down there on the motor mount. Essentially want to do this because we got to unbolt the motor mounts from the actual lower subframe. Now if you're doing this and you are using this exact same brace, make sure you pull the bar all the way down to where the core support bolts up down here, or else you won't be able to get these low enough for the chain to be able to reach. The passenger side is the one you'll have to worry about more because you got the wiring harness and everything else running through here. So take your time. This is probably the most annoying part of doing the rear main seal, is getting the engine hoisted up. So take your time there, you'll be all right. Now, if you've never done a rear main seal on a G35 or a 350Z, let's just say it's not the best designed engine to be doing a rear main on. For most cars, you simply just take the transmission out, take the clutch, flywheel off, and you can see the rear main seal. Simply replace it there with just a seal puller. Doesn't work that way on the VQ. It actually has a bracket that goes on to it. So as you can see, it looks like someone's actually done this before. So maybe the rear main has been replaced and they probably just didn't do it the correct way, I would assume. But all we got is 10 mil bolts up top, so that should have it loose. And then you do have 2 dowel pins right here, and then obviously you've got to get through this silicone. Dowel pin, there we go, and voila. Now we move on to getting everything off, essentially, so that we can even replace this bad boy. So the first thing we're going to do is get these power steering lines unhooked. Just these ones, because these are the ones that go across to the other side, which go to the reservoir. These will have to get out of the way so that eventually we can just swing the subframe this way, just completely out of our way. Make sense? Good. All right. I'm not going to tap this very hard. Better to get like a jerk reaction, breaking it loose, rather than trying to strain it, because then that's when things stretch and start to strip. All right, both lines are undone. Now we have to unbolt it from the bracket that goes to the subframe over there, and then we should be able to have these lines just completely out of our way. So since we went the route of disconnecting the rack, now what we're gonna do is go for the motor mount. So instead of taking the subframe off and letting things sink down, I want to undo the motor mounts because it still will sit there. As I'm lowering the bolts on the subframe, I can jump back up top and keep tightening the chains so that we don't have any issues here and this always stays tight. Let's undo the motor mounts. That way it's more free range on the chains, and then as we slowly unbolt that subframe, we'll just keep working the chains tight and make sure that nothing really moves, so that whenever we go back to put this together, I'm not struggling with the motor mounts trying to get them in the spot or in the holes of the subframe too much, and so on and so forth. Anyways, let's just get to it. This is a 17 mil, and you will probably need an extension just to get it on there. And you can see right there, we've got 2 bolts going through the subframe. So we have some lines up here that has a bracket. So we should be able to just reach back there with a 10 mil and be able to pop these off. This is some long ass bolts, so you'll be there a minute. You can't fit an electric ratchet up there. Those are some long boys, but I got that bracket off. So now these lines are free, which are actually the power steering lines. So what do you know, we get some more clearance, eh? Now that we're taking the subframe out, I wanted to go ahead and get a jack underneath it so that we can jack up. That way it holds the subframe up. We can loosen the 4 bolts and then slowly let it down. God forbid I'm working on my own. I don't want this thing dropping on me. So I got a good amount of tension on the engine. I went ahead and tightened it up just a little bit more. So until I started hearing like the motor mounts actually coming out of the slot. So now we can take a 19 mil, loosen the 4 bolts that are holding the subframe in. Hope for the best. So essentially what I'm noticing is the steering shaft is not letting this side of the subframe actually fall down enough. So we're gonna take a 12 mil, unbolt this, and we should have the subframe fall down. Let's zip this Johnny off. Okay. Aha! And there goes the subframe. Dun, da, da, da. Ah. All right, it's the next day and we still got a lot of work to do. We ran out of daylight last night, so we couldn't get this completely done and get the upper oil pan or anything off. So that's what we got to tackle today. Now, before I move on to anything, I just remembered this. If you're ever doing anything like this, you want to make sure you go ahead and change your cam sensor in this, because it's all the way up at the top and it's extremely hard to get to whenever the motor's just in there and nothing's in the way. I mean, it's not horrible. You've got a little bit of room up top, but it's literally right here with a quick 10 mil. So quick 10 mil. When he was diagnosing this car, he left a brand new camshaft sensor in here. So we're gonna throw that in. So we got to take the lower oil pan off. I went ahead and bought a new one. These are super cheap on Amazon. They're like 20-30 bucks. So whenever you're doing this, just go ahead and bite the bullet, get a new oil pan, because you get a new drain plug, everything else with it. So I'll also take the oil filter off too, might as well. It looks like we got to replace this hose because this does not look appropriate. Alright, so now we'll just take a pry bar, get up under here. No, I'm not trying to, there it goes. Oh shit, we're just burning all everywhere, fuck me. You can tell it's definitely not the cleanest motor ever, but it'll be alright. She's getting a fresh oil change. We're gonna throw some Renegade in her, so it'll be a lot better oil. A little bit heavier weight too, because I'm sure this is still a little warm. There are some bolts up in here that have to do with the upper oil pan, so we'll be sure to get those. I'm gonna leave those for last though. That way it holds it up from up there, essentially. Let's get to that. Oh, that's cool. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. I forgot coolant was involved. So maybe drain your radiator first. So we're on the right track. We got all of the bolts off of the side. I've got this one and this one loose, all the ones off the side, and then you got this little weird guy back here. So make sure you get that one. And then you got this one on the side, this one, and then like I mentioned, this one that's loose. And up in here is where it gets a little tricky. 3 right there, 1 right there in the center, 1 right there. So you got 5 total that you'll have to take out. Oh, ups is here, baby. What'd we get? That was actually some stuff for the sim rig, so shout out to Sim HQ for that. Maybe you're putting one together. You can also save 5% with the code CircleOfDrift, just so you know. Should just be these 2 left, and then we'll have to, the pan shouldn't go anywhere, but I would highly suggest not being under it. So now that we got that off, we got to figure out the alternator situation, and then I think one of these brackets, the pulley bracket, I think is bolted to the upper oil pan. Since the bracket is off of the alternator, we should theoretically be able to pull this down now. Okay, yep, we definitely got it now, boys. Okay, so now that we got the upper oil pan off, we obviously have to clean up not only the top side, but the bottom side as well for the lower oil pan. But before I do that, I have some engine degreaser, which you could even use oven degreaser if you want, or oven cleaner, whatever it's called. It's just about the same strength, and we're gonna take this over to the hose and at least spray it down, let it sit for a second, and hose it off. I don't know if we'll go into like agitating it and doing all that mess, but if I can find an appropriate brush to do that, I might. But either way, let's go do that and get this over with. The upper pan is aluminum, so it's not like you necessarily have to worry about rusting with all this water being on here, but I am going to hit it with brake cleaner. That way it washes a lot of the stagnant water off, and this is like evaporative, so it'll evaporate from it. Given that this is aluminum, you can't use metal, or you shouldn't, so don't use metal razor blades or wire wheels or anything like that. If you do, get a plastic or like a nylon version of it. I don't have any of that, so I'm gonna be sitting here scraping away with some plastic tools that I have. Shouldn't be that bad, truthfully. Now essentially what I'm trying to do right now is just get all the big chunks of shit that's just caked up on here. Like really what we want to focus on is the galleries that are in here with all the silicone caked in, because we need those cleaned out so that the new stuff can go in it. We got the upper oil pan all cleaned up. This is the bottom side, and then the top side is going to be a little gummy because it's sitting on this nasty ass table, but got all the valleys, all the little crevices cleaned up as much as we can, and we should be ready to go back in with this. So now we got to go over to the car and clean up the other side of the block so that's ready to accept the upper oil pan. Got it? Good. The surface is pretty good, so we'll roll with that. We'll go up top and start putting some silicone on the actual rear main seal so we can put this on. We'll want to make sure to put some oil or the tiniest little bit of grease around the actual rear main seal that goes around this crank, just to make it a little bit easier for us to get it on there, but you obviously don't want to put too much because then you can cause some leaks. With your rear main, you're going to have two seals that come with it. One is for the actual upper oil pan that'll go in here, but that'll sit on the bottom side with this little notch piece to match on the bottom of the rear main. It'll sit down in here, kind of like that. So yeah, we'll get to doing this and hope for the best. So we're gonna put this one on the dowels under the car and then slide this on. So let's go do that. This over the dowels. Ideally, the more silicone the better when you're doing this. So obviously you got the two dowels to worry about. Let's get it on the crankshaft correctly, just like that. And we will push it down a little bit and then start throwing our bolts in. All right, rear main's on. We'll wait for that to dry and then we'll tighten those down. I gotta get the fuck out of this rain. All right, so we got the rear oil pan seal that goes on the bottom right here. So I'm gonna throw some silicone on this and then we can stick her on in there. I did off camera go ahead and get the bottom of this oil pan cleaned off too. So I'll show you what that looks like as well. And remember, you got that little notch to show you which direction it's supposed to be as well. So, and then you just essentially do the same thing on the front. So you get the memo there. My camera's about to die, so we'll catch back up whenever we're putting the lower oil pan on. Oh shit, actually, time out. Forgot those O-rings. Okay, so now we got to go through and torque all of these down. They should be about 12.5, 13 foot-pounds for all of these, but these back two that are the long ones, you're going to want to do, I think it's 32 or 33 foot-pounds. If I'm wrong on that, I'll put that on the screen, what the correct one is. So
okay, now it's time to go over the torque specs for the upper oil pan. We have 12 bolts that we need to be tightened, and 7 and 8 back here are going to be 32 foot-pounds.
hello. Oh fuck. That did not just happen. Well, things just got a whole lot worse, so we have to redo all of this now. Well, obviously, as you saw, I snapped one of the bolts off into the block. It was one of the longer ones, so I'm hoping there's still some threads for me to at least grab onto or weld another bolt to. I would have honestly rather just felt how tight it was, because now not only do I have to pull all of that shit back off, redo all of the seals, clean everything again, but I may have snapped the bolt off too low. Long story short, I've had enough. I am going to redo this. I'm not going to record any of it. I will catch back up with you guys. This was supposed to be a couple week break. Now it's turned into nothing but a disaster. Dude, I quit. Alright, finally got the G all sorted on the rear main seal and everything that it needed. We obviously don't have any front suspension, but we're just trying to see if the motor will fire, and we got it to at least turn over yesterday, but it wouldn't stay running because of a bad mouth and a valve cover that got pinched. I had to redo that, but let's give it a whirl. Pump primed. And we're good, baby. We have a dang old VQ on our hands.
Staying way up to the ceiling. Trust no bitch, can't catch no feelings. I've been taking long flights from the Bay to Ibiza. Hit home runs, I'm a ball like Jeter. I just want fuck, then I leave her. I'm a young pop star, call the boy Justin Bieber. Got a little money if you want, I can teach her. Whole life a movie, you can watch it in theater.